Hey everyone, Isaiah here. I haven't been here on YouTube for a very long time. And funny thing about that, my roommate and I actually use a TV to watch things like YouTube stuff and play like Steam games and stuff like that on. And so we'll occasionally switch accounts whenever one of us is passing the TV on to the other one. And YouTube has now shown how many subscribers you have whenever you're switching accounts. And that made me go like, oh God, I have 41 subscribers and I have not been making videos at all. And there are some reasons for that. And I do apologize. Part of the reason why was working on things where I wasn't really sure if it was proper for me to show those off because they weren't my own projects, and then just kind of got into and I guess it's a problem of my own making of where I was just like I really don't know what to do with video content. Um, I know that a lot of people just like to watch videos of art being made, but I just personally don't find that entirely engaging myself. And so that kind of put me off on things because I was always like, I really want to make something a little bit more involved whenever I do videos. But of course, if I do that, it gets in the flow in the way of my production process. But um, I've decided that I'm going to start recording the things I'm drawing again, and then at least just showing process videos and talking over them. And I don't know what to talk about still, but I figured I'll just add a little narration, and then whatever comes up to mind, I'll talk about it. If I see anything on the page that catches my attention to talk about, then I'll do that too until I figure out some sort of real structure. And that's probably something I've said in a handful of videos um, by now. But yeah, I want to stick to it, especially since there's. I really just thought it was just my nephew watching this channel, and then I saw that number, and it's like, oh man, I really need to make video content again. Um, I've always figured it's a bit difficult to decide what to do. That's why things were easier when me and Steven could get together and do the single issue episodes. That way, I would have someone to bounce off to and have some sort of subject to talk about for a bit. But this way, I'll just talk about something. I don't know. So the project that we're seeing here is some old footage. I actually have a lot of footage that I've been recording as I draw. I fell off of that quite a while ago, but I do have a backlog, and I'm going to get back into recording things again, just so I can have some stuff to put up. But this was a project that I did last year called Genesis Blue and the Magical Microphone. I was hired to do. This is in the comic, my own creation. Um, and it was going to be one that I was going to get some copies of so that I could show off and sell at conventions. But then, COVID-19 happened. So who knows when I'll be able to share this work that I've done with people, but I can share the work now. Um, and it's a fun little project about this young lady who inherits a magical microphone from her grandmother that allows her to transform into a superhero, and she's going to be taking on this dangerous gang leader. Um, when this comic was pitched to me, it was pitched as just a cool female black superhero kind of thing. And then when I got the script, I actually thought it would be more interesting to, at least on my end, go for a more. Man, I really don't like that hand. I hope I fix that. No, I just moved on. Okay. Uh, I thought it would be more interesting if I gave this more of a magical girl kind of flair. I'm not too sure how many of the pages I recorded when I was working on this, but you'll probably be able to see that later. This is the first page of this project, and it's a splash page, and mostly working on web cartoons. I don't get the opportunity to do much with splash pages, which is so unfortunate because they're very fun to draw. Um, just having this big page, just the big opener, and having a lot of energy in it, and I had a lot of fun drawing this. Maybe not so much drawing instruments. Um, Not really my cup of tea there, but we'll see how well I accomplish that here. And then I really don't like crowd scenes, but I can't really think of very many people who do like crowd scenes. But um, they have to be done. Um, so going into this project, I of course had to draw or design a lot of the characters here because it's their first project, and the lady that you see there, the elderly lady back there behind our main character, is her grandmother, who she'll be inheriting her magical microphone from. But another thing that really drew me to working on this project was that the grandmother character was this jazz and blues singer, which my grandmother was also a jazz and blues singer. And I actually lost her the year before picking up this project. I actually have a picture of my grandparents right in my studio area, and I actually use a lot of my grandmother in designing this character, and that gave me a lot of really good feelings there. Especially since it happened very fast. I wasn't very ready for her to go. Man, I was really lazy on those hands. Um, I hope I don't stay that lazy later on in this project. But yeah, so I found that really fun to draw, and that gave me a lot of desire to work on this project. And and yeah, she's got this feather boa thing. Uh, I think on this page I kind of render that this very spiky design, but on the future pages you'll see I'll round that out a bit more. I was trying to work my mind of how to symbolize the feather boa, because my work is still very cartoony. And when it comes to things that are extremely detailed like that, I like to try to capture the essence rather than devote a whole lot of rendering to it, because I think at that point it would kind of distract. But I feel like on this page I didn't quite capture the softness of feathers with that design. It felt kind of spiky, and I think on the next page I do round that out a little bit more and give it a bit of a square um, on the ends to kind of make it look more like a feather and a very very soft thing. A little while earlier, you saw me copy and paste that microphone and stand, and never feel bad about using the resources that are available to you, and doing what you can to streamline your process. Drawing, of course, is a very very time consuming process, and this one had a deadline, of course, and so I didn't feel too ashamed about taking shortcuts. Actually, whenever I work on pages of Trantaltown, um, I actually render everything, um, even things that are going to get covered up by the lettering, which is I really shouldn't do. But I always tell myself, maybe I'll turn one of these panels into a sticker or something, and I'm not going to want that lettering and those bubbles in the way. And I always justify it that way, which of course I never go back to do. But that actually might end up being a fun project to do in between pages is finding shots in Town that I think are really cool, and color them, make stickers out of them. I do want to practice my coloring a whole lot more. When I work on comics, they're almost always in black and white. Genesis Blue here was actually a colored project, but I didn't do the colors for it. My friend Jesse Jordan was the colorist for this project, so that may be something that I get into later. But here on this page, I did since I was the inker and the penciler and the letterer for this project, and Jesse did the colors. But since I was doing the letters, I got to figure out where, pardon me, I got to figure out where all that was going to be beforehand, and so that saved me a little bit of time when it came to doing the inking, is not having to ink where the lettering was going to be. And figuring out how I wanted to draw these musical instruments was also very interesting. The saxophone in particular, saxophones are very intricate devices. There's all sorts of buttons on there and all sorts of tubing and wires going all over the place. And when I was looking at one for reference, I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna draw this thing? How am I gonna make it look good in the style that I'm going for? What details do I need to keep? What details do I need to drop? And it was very fun figuring that out, and I'm very happy with that saxophone there. I felt really bad for this bassist and guitarist here in the background who get covered up, don't really get to see their faces. I tried to give this guy a bit of an interesting look on what little of his face we can see. That, of course, is a way that I try to keep myself entertained when working on crowd shots or shots that just are going to have a whole bunch of people in it. Is coming up with interesting faces to draw. Um, and this poor guy doesn't get much of a face, and the poor guy next to him doesn't get anything but some hair. Can't remember if I made this guy here a basis or looks like he's basis. Yeah, four strings. Am I counting four strings there? There goes six strings. It really didn't matter how many strings I put there. When you zoom out, you can't even see those strings. But I like to play the bass myself, and so I was like, if one of these guys is going to be visible, it's going to be the bass player. That's a really huge speaker back there. I hope their ears are all okay. I think I designed the grandmother there with some sparkles on part of her costume. You probably see the little dots there whenever we zoom in. And when I got around to inking, I thought that it wouldn't look good to have those sparkles rendered with dots of ink. That's probably something that would come off better in color. I'm not sure. Um, I don't remember um, if the sparkles and stuff were rendered there on color. I'm not sure. I don't remember if I included them in the designs that I sent to Jesse, or if it was something that I thought about when I was penciling the page here. And here I am just making a little texture pattern for the speakers and then getting rid of it. Normally, it would probably bother me a lot that the little pattern there isn't in perspective, but in one of these cases, it's such a small background element that it's really just there for the flavor. And so, right there, where the angle of those just goes off in a weird way. Um, but it's just really for the essence and for the texture, just to give off the idea. When you have deadlines on things, you really don't want to be too focused on details that really, at the end of the day, don't matter. But I do think I could have worked harder on figuring out the right perspective there on the bass drum. And I like using templates a lot. I think it's really fun to. Um, I lay out these templates here in Manga Studio. I like to use Manga Studio for. I'm using Manga Studio EX Pro 4 or something like that, whatever the full title is. Um, I tried to use Clip Studio for comics, but there were a lot of tools. I'd spent quite a few years using Manga Studio for comics, and I got extremely used to the perspective tools, and I really like the various ruler tools. And then when I got around to trying to learn to do comics in Clip Studio, I just really did not like the perspective tools and the feeling of locking on to the ruler tools in that program. And I think I did maybe one or two Transiltown pages in Clip Studio before I eventually just got frustrated and was just like, I'm gonna go back to what I know, and what feels good. And sometimes that's just a decision to make. I am playing around with Clip Studio Pro whenever I do get to do anything. I'm sorry, it's Clip Studio. It used to be Manga Studio 5. I think it's Clip Studio now. I am messing around with that more whenever I get the chance to do anything in color, and I do like it for color a whole lot more than I like it for comics. But yeah, sometimes it's just make a decision about like these are the tools that I like, that work for me, and that's a fine decision to make. You don't always need to stick with what is new or what is trendy to use. Use what's comfortable for you to create with, and that's eventually the decision that I had to make um, when it came to that. But as I said again, I will be using Clip Studio more when I do color projects, because I do like it a lot for that. Because Manga Studio 4, not great for colors, not great for colors at all. I do use it for Crackers and White Wine, but that one is those are meant to be made very quickly, and um, the colors are very simple flats, anyways. And so it's just like I'm already here working in Manga Studio, may as well do all the other stuff in Manga Studio so I can get this idea out as quickly as possible. I like this guy's face. He looks like a friendly old dude. He's snapping. I love it.